do want to just mention a couple of business items. So there are 10 members of the executive committee, and 3 of those positions, they're 2-year terms, but 3 of those positions will be ending at the end of this year. Their term ends. So, and that includes me, Mark Gaddy, and Gary Veenstra. So those are spots that are will be up for re-election this coming at the end of the year, before the end of the year. So anyone who's interested in any of those positions, let us know. And if you have questions about the responsibilities, basically the executive committee organizes the meetings for the year and decides what we're going to work on and discuss. So I have found that I feel more in touch with what's going on in New Jersey by being involved with the forum and on the executive committee. So I encourage anyone who's interested to consider that. Yeah, that's the one announcement I have. I guess I didn't hear from, let's see, I did get, well, Brian, do you want to make any announcements at this time?
Yeah, sure do. I have several actually. Thanks, Trish.
Yep.
So hi, everybody. My name is Brian Embley. I'm the Geographic Information Officer, State of New Jersey. Few things to announce. First, some forum, just reminders, kind of building on what Trish said. I'm going to share my screen a little, right? Here's our forum website. If you're not registered as a member, please do so here. Very easy form. We just need a name and an email address in your constituency group. And this is also where you can sign up for task forces, right? And you can see the 4 that we currently have right there. So you can sign up there for that. The email listserv that we use occasionally as a community to email back and forth questions to the whole community. Instructions to add yourself to that or remove yourself are here. It's very simple, right? You just send an email to subscribe, and then if you don't want to be part of it anymore, unsubscribe. Not a lot of email traffic goes through this anymore, but that listserv resource is still out there. So just a reminder on that. Also, the meeting schedules, right? So this is going to be our last Teams only meeting. We're going to go back to in person in October, our next meeting, October 12th. So this will be same place where it used to be before the pandemic, at the OIT offices in Trenton at Riverview Plaza, that big room, if you've ever been to one of those meetings. And we are going to work really hard to also have that virtually via Teams. We're going to, do a hybrid. We haven't done that before for a forum meeting, but that's the plan for October. So look forward to being in person at that meeting. So you can see the rest of our meeting schedule here. We'll just continue with that in person, going forward from October 2nd. Also, Trish mentioned our executive committee. All of those folks are listed here. If you have, and the point is that these folks represent the different constituency groups. So, if you have a question about surveying or GIS in the municipal area, reach out to your representative here and, start that conversation with them. That's really what they're here for as part of the executive committee. And these links have their email addresses in them, so you can just email them. Also, I did want to mention on the Teams call, I put in the chat, if you're connected to this call via phone, please email us your phone number so we know that you attended the meeting. That goes towards your ability to vote for those vacant executive committee seats that Trish mentioned. You have to attend a certain amount of meetings to be eligible to vote. Okay, so that's it for Geospatial Forum reminders on my behalf from the State Office of GIS. A few announcements. We've released some data and done some data updates. First, we released a new data set. The islands in the Delaware River. It's a pretty interesting data set. We did this as a result of adjusting the state boundary between Pennsylvania and New Jersey a while back, and our folks had to do a deep dive on the river. As you can imagine, islands within a river as big as the Delaware migrate over the years, right? Think sandbars and like that. So islands that are on old maps as part of the boundaries might have moved, might not have been there. New islands might have come up. So we had to capture all those, and that's what this data set is. So it's kind of neat. We had it, so we just authored the metadata and put it out there on the engine portal. So if it's out there, go to the engine website and you can search for it. We also did an update on the school locations. We just released that. We do that on behalf of the Department of Education, and that's usually an annual data update. So that data set's available for download or consumption as a service. And then a couple weeks ago, we released our road and address data updates. We do that on a monthly cycle. But we did something new this time that I wanted to call to your attention. If I go to the address pages, since we've been doing these monthly updates, we have this what we call a summary data report, which is really just a list of features that were updated on that date. It's just like this running table. So if I look at the latest updates from May, we can see the street name alias table had 20 updates, 46 inserted features, meaning new, and we deleted 107 that weren't valid anymore, so we got rid of them. So it's kind of handy to see the number of changes, road center lines, address points, and the street name alias table. So we've been doing this for quite a while, more than a year. It's handy to just kind of, if you're interested in these data sets, to see the rate of change. What we've also done, though, is we've started to break this down by municipality to give you a little bit more insight as to where the changes happen in New Jersey, right? These data sets cover the whole state. Maybe you only are working in a particular area and you have interest in a particular spot. So we've added this enterprise data report by municipality. And when you open that up, you get another CSV file that is quite a bit longer, but it gives you a lot of detail here. So I think this is the first time we've actually released it for public use, and we list out the data layer and the county and the muni name and updates that took place in that county or muni, and of course the date. So if you're really interested in, hey, were there any roads or addresses added or updated or even deleted in a particular town or county, this list is going to be very helpful for you. Right, so address updates for address points, address inserts means new addresses were inserted. Right, a lot of work in Bergen County because we're crunching data for the next gen 911 system in Bergen County as we speak. So a handy resource. We will just continue to update this. This list will just get longer and be there to give you some insight as to where the changes occur. So if you need this data and that's helpful for you, just go find it on either the address page or the roads page. They link to the same report. And then we did release another app with the latest congressional districts, a Finder app to put in an address and actually find what congressional district you're in. So that's it for me from the Office of GIS. Thanks, Trish.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Interesting stuff about the road addresses. Yeah, all right. Hopefully, people will find that useful for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, good. I checked with the executive committee. I didn't hear of any other announcements except I think is Steve Eckert on. I think he had an announcement he wanted to make on behalf of the task force. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks, Trish. So
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Just wanted to provide a brief update on the new datum, or what is now being called National Spatial Reference System 2022. And this will be replacing both NAD 83 and also NAVD88, which is the vertical datum. Still isn't much new to report. However, according to the latest NGS newsletter, they're still in the process of collecting data that will be part of the new datum. And I'm going to post a link in the chat for where you can follow along with to get updates on their progress. One thing I wanted to mention, according to the website, at this time, NGS will not be announcing a release date, but will first announce the creation of alpha and beta products, and then after it meets all the beta testing guidelines, that's when NGS will release a timeline. Best guess right now is probably not before 2025. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to reach out to everyone that's signed up for the task force and gauge interest in having a meeting to pick up where things left off a few years ago, probably after the summer at this point. And then we'll see where things stand at that time and go from there. And that's all I have. Thanks, everyone.
All right, yeah, great. Thanks, Steve, for updating us on that. I have noticed there are some other announcements in the chat, so make sure you check those out if you're interested in them. And Maya's put some links, also good stuff there. All right, I guess I'm gonna open it up for any other announcements before we start the lightning talks.
Elevation.
Oh yeah, Roger, there you are.
I'm not gone yet. The Elevation Task Force met on May 24th, and we reviewed the project, the LiDAR project in Northeast New Jersey for Bergen, Essex, Hudson, Union, Middlesex, and Monmouth counties. That data is fully collected at quality level 1. The proposal was in for quality level 2+, but we got upgraded because of the contribution of the proposal, which was very high. And thanks to Doug Schleifer and John Tarosky for helping along with those things. We are in the production phase and looking forward to the pilot project coming up this summer. And appreciate all the support from DEP and OIT to get this up and going and done and completed in collection sense for this leaf-off season. I do want to mention that buildings will be another feature that will be collected. That means that anything in excess of 400 square feet will be picked up in a raw machine-generated sense, and the New Jersey folks will be able to derive what they want out of that. This has particular relevance to Next Generation 911, as we are able to collect not only building outlines, but the height of the building with 8 points per square meter minimum. And that will enable Next Generation 911 to identify specific buildings, but also start to hone in on the individual floor that a call can come from. So that's pretty valuable, I think. So in that sense, we also have, it looks like the kickoff meeting for the independent quality assurance will happen next week. And I've been in contact with Dewberry about that. I will probably miss that since I'll be on travel in Oregon presenting at a conference, but that will be coming up. I am stepping down as Elevation Task Force Chair. I've been the chair since 2007, and we've managed to collect the state a couple times over and doing fairly well. Brian Embley at the May 24th meeting mentioned that some other things may be combined with the Elevation Task Force, particularly orthoimagery and land cover type activities, as the funding streams are dependent on one another in the terms of cycle of recollection of those data. So that's of interest. And so my last task force meeting was indeed on the May 24th, and I'm retiring in a couple weeks. One more item, three-dimensional hydrography program, 3DHP. We're in a transition year here at the USGS National Geospatial Program, and NHD has been shut down, and the WBD is now less than 30 days away from being shut down, the watershed boundary data set. All of those will be migrated to the 3DHP, and our first static version of that data set will be put up before October 1st, is what I'm hearing. The idea is to collect elevation-derived hydrography from the LiDAR data and derive hydrography from the elevation data in 8-digit HUCs. And so that'll start happening across the nation, and that will be what populates the 3DHP. We're going from over 200 feature codes in NHD down to an order of magnitude less, so a little bit more than 20 feature codes in 3DHP, which will make things much easier to maintain. And I'll leave it there for any questions.
Any questions for Roger on that? That's good stuff. I was a little bit aware of that, but I didn't know the timing on it. So that's interesting. October.
Yep, we're
Yeah.
well underway, and my replacement, I should mention, not replacement, my successor, is Eliza Gross, who has returned from England either yesterday or today, and she's based out of Harrisburg. So she is involved in the communications, and I've updated her on LiDAR projects and other things happening in New Jersey. So
Okay.
thanks.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Roger.
thanks, Roger. Thanks for your support and congratulations. Real quick, also, I think Roger mentioned Doug Schleifer from our office, who's very pivotal in the elevation task force. Doug is also retiring at the end of this month, the end of June. So many of you know Doug. He's been around for many, many years in the GIS community. So he is leaving us. Sorry to see him go, but I think he deserves the time off. Also, as Roger mentioned, the elevation task force is going to evolve a little bit. It's still going to be around. We're just going to talk about it in the executive committee and, try to figure out what's the best form going forward. Since those two individuals are retiring at the same time, it's a good point to kind of revisit that task force and, align it for the next while. So that's starting today in the EC. You'll hear more about that task force and where we're going to go in the future. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Good. And congratulations to Roger and to Doug and anyone else who's retiring. I see a hand up there. Angela.
Yes, thank you. So riding on that wave of congratulations and thank yous. Roger, I understand this is your last Geospatial Forum meeting from New Jersey. Thank you very much. John Tarowski was the technical point of contact on many of these joint meetings. And unfortunately, he can't be here today, at all intentions of being here. And but we do have a few words. So I'm trying to represent these words as best I can. So if they come out just a little wrong, it's not his fault. But I do want to read as best I can just a statement that he wanted me to share. So again, in this, we want to thank Roger, take a few minutes to thank him for all he has done to support the state with elevation imagery collection throughout the years. Began working together as part of a former version of the forum. It was probably the State Mapping Advisory Committee back in the 1990s on the 1995 imagery project, 1995 data collection. The partnership continued through subsequent statewide imagery and I imagine LiDAR collections, including this very latest one, the latest imagery one, which was 2020. Then when LiDAR became available for data generation in the state, Roger jumped in and helped us plan for major collection projects. And of course, we know that they've been getting better and better and better with every iteration. And of course, this past spring was the 6 Northeast counties. Acknowledge also for your contribution in giving direction for the hydro feature mapping that's been done, and the work, advancing what we've done in the state with the NHD. It really has been a significant collection of work, which would have been very difficult for us to accomplish without Roger's support and commitment to New Jersey. So for that and his committed public service and for his friendship with projects we've done and has grown over the years. Please enjoy your retirement. It's been a blast to work with you. Hope to meet you and share a beer or two with you and talk about anything that comes to mind. And hopefully funding won't be tied up for New Jersey. So anyhow, my best attempt to express those sentiments. So thank you.
Thank you, Angela. It's much appreciated. And I don't want to shortchange the friendships that have been built over the years with so many of the members. It's been a pleasure to drive up 95 to Trenton and see you all.
And you're always welcome back, Roger. Our meetings are open to the public, so.
I will be the public.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Angela. And all right. I do see some more words in the chat, so check those out. Yeah, I see an update from Dom about the Utilities Task Force, an in-person meeting sometime this month. Okay, so so for those of you who are involved with that Utilities Task Force, take note of that. And the Executive Committee, yeah, we have a meeting this afternoon. We'll be talking about some of the stuff that Brian mentioned earlier about task forces. Okay, I think I don't see any more hands raised, so we're going to move to the lightning talks part of the meeting. And to start, I'm just going to share my screen with the presenters and their names and the order they're in, so you can see. This is just part of the agenda, so you should have all seen this. And we are gonna get started. So our first speaker, I haven't checked to see if he's on. Is Rich Sikowitz on the call?
Hey, Trish, I'm on the call. Yep.
Okay, great. All right, Rich, you are free to get started.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me on this call to talk about how the marketing and sales team at SJI uses our enterprise GIS to maximize their sales and marketing potential. Here at SJI, just a little bit about myself.
Uh-oh.
All right.
We okay there?
Good now?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. My name is Rich Sikowitz. I work for SJI. I work in IT for GIS, and I've been here about 6 years. So SJI is a utility company within New Jersey. We have 2 natural gas distribution companies, Elizabethtown Gas and South Jersey Gas. There's about 700,000 customers within those territories. And what's unique about a utility company is that we cannot branch out of our areas. So we are marketing within these certain areas using GIS to spot market a lot of this. So as I go down, I'm going to show some of our slides that we use. Just a little bit of SJI. It does take about 50%, just over the total area of New Jersey. All right, so I'm going to go through some applications that we use. We do use an enterprise, ArcGIS Online, Survey 123. We do use some Power Automate, SharePoint, Salesforce, Field Maps, ESRI, Business Analyst, and ArcGIS Pro as our items that we use for sales and marketing to move forward. For the enterprise application, we have all of our data on a single web app that we're able to pinpoint areas that do not have gas or areas that do not have a meter that we can spot market to. So if you look on this map, there's a lot of data that's being shown. And if you turn on, turn off our meters, there's potential to just see who doesn't have gas in this area, right? Another application that we use is our website. So our website has an ArcGIS Online interactive map that has updated service territory information, and it does let you interact with it, put an address in, and feedback if you have gas within about 500 feet of a gas main. So it does return this information back, and all that information from the website powers dashboards in the back end. So the users of these dashboards are able to see who's online, who was able to go into the website, and what kind of demand and what areas of the demand is needed for this marketing, for just the online website information. As you go further down, you can see, you can do hotspot mapping. So green are areas that have that are saying that we're in the service territory, red are outside the service territory, and we can do a lot of analytics in the back end to see where the demand is, just from the data that we're getting from the website. So we are using Survey 123 when a demand is happening, and within Survey 123, we do get a lot of information back. You can get word tables, county information, and we have webhooks that are connecting automatically to Microsoft Power Automate. So we're using the Microsoft Power Automate to export out emails immediately to the county reps when they get a lead in the website. So we have all the individuals, whoever uses whatever county it is or whatever it is, yes and no's, and that information gets pushed out to an immediate email to those constituents. No, it is not publicly available. Field work in the field. So all that information we can put back, and they're using field maps in the field to look at areas that are of potential new customers. They have all the customers that do not have a meter on the map, and they're able to use field maps and put information in as to what they did at that location. So if it wasn't a lead, if they put a door hanger there, they can track what activity was done at that particular location. If they need a new customer, or they get a new customer in the field, they are able to interact with another form that puts a lead directly into Salesforce and does that whole Salesforce process in our system. Other information that we use is the business analyst tool. So when we do have areas of pockets that we're interested in, we use the business analyst tool to get analytics and key facts and information about those areas. It's been helpful to relay a message or put a story out to the powers that be of these are potential areas that we may want to expand into and put our gas line down. And on top of all those applications, ArcGIS Pro, we do use on a daily basis to do build outs. So using the parcel information and the length of the street center lines, we can do analysis as to how much main we may need to put into the street, as well as how many residential, commercial, and industrial, your Mod 4 data that we're able to export out a potential for areas of expansion for whole new developments. Thank you. I tried to go through that in 5 minutes. I'll stop and answer some questions.
So I forgot to mention, we're gonna hold the questions to the end. So if you and thank you, Rich, for staying in the 6-minute time frame. That's good. But yeah, well, so if you have questions for Rich, just take a note of it, and we'll take all the questions at the end, because we don't want to hold any of the other presentations up. So, okay, yeah, great, thanks, Rich. Next up is Michael Tomwinovich.
Yep, just gonna share my screen now. Here. Okay, everyone can see and hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So hi, I'm Mike Tomwinovich. I'm the GIS specialist over at Negley Group, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about how we utilize Power Automate and Survey 123. So we saw a possible use for GIS to help track our construction management projects. These are projects like road paving, where certain quantities are tracked, like linear feet of curb, tons of asphalt, square feet of striping, etc. These are projects that would otherwise have a limited amount of checkpoints where progress can be monitored. And we also had to solve a data location problem. What I mean by that is there were different pieces of data that tended to be in separate locations. So there were misplaced reports and photos sometimes. Finally, management engineers expressed their concerns with how monthly billing was being reviewed. So that was also something that we had to take into consideration. So the current process includes things like handwritten notes, email chains, separated images that were just floating around, and Excel spreadsheets, all with the possibility of being stored in different places. So we had multiple data types across multiple applications that would all eventually come together. We also had to consider that due to the quantity of projects that construction management was involved with, it would not allow us to use our current GIS workflows, so we had to try something new. So with that being said, we introduced Survey 123 into our construction management workflow through their daily inspection reports. So they'd be filling those reports through using Survey 123. These reports are performed at all jobs by all inspectors. And while we were testing the current workflow, which was a fillable PDF, there was clearly room for improvement. And like Rich had mentioned, I had actually seen Power Automate being used first to generate automated emails. So I knew that was something that was floating around in the back of my head, and it was an avenue that was worth exploring for this automation process that we were looking into. With that being said, we needed a tool between Survey 123 and Power Automate that can manipulate and organize all of this data that the construction management inspectors were throwing our way. It would have to convert previously manual processes into automated ones. And finally, I had to store the data and reports in a centralized location with automatic updating as soon as a survey response was submitted. So here's the Power Automate flow in the most simplest form with it all combined. And just to keep it short and sweet, it checks that a completed Survey 123 report was submitted and then performs a series of actions based upon that survey response and the information within it. And when you expand it, I like to think of it in the context of three main steps. So the first step is to check that the survey response contains all the necessary information for the rest of the flow to run. The second step is to take that survey information and put it and coordinate it into appropriate Excel spreadsheets. And the third and final step is to create a Survey 123 report, as well as export it to a SharePoint location once that was all completed. So as mentioned, step one is verifying that the survey response that was submitted contains all necessary info in it in order for the rest of the flow to run. We monitor this by including a toggle within the Survey 123 itself between draft and completed, and that's exactly what step one is checking here. Step two is then to transfer that to Excel, like I mentioned. Depending on which sheet was selected, again, by a toggle within the Survey 123, information will populate into the corresponding sheet. Ultimately, the quantities that we were tracking would look something like this. So as you can see in the quantity this estimate and quantity to date columns, these are records that are transferred from Survey 123 directly into Excel by Power Automate. It's formatted to look exactly like any other bid sheet that our engineers were used to seeing, just to lower the shock of a completely new workflow being implemented. And finally, like I mentioned, step three, so after the data is stored in its respective Excel sheets, a Survey 123 report is created and stored within a SharePoint location. So that was the process. And with all this good being mentioned, it goes without saying that the workflow is definitely a work in progress. There's always room for improvement. For instance, due to current Power Automate abilities, it makes it so that you have to export to OneDrive and SharePoint. This is just a workaround that I found was necessary at the moment, but I'm hoping that can be fixed soon. This is definitely one of the more involved automated processes that we have implemented at the moment. It requires more frequent supervision to make sure that it's functioning as intended. Obviously, there's occasional bugs here and there that have to be addressed. And definitely, this is more of a personal thing. As I was working through this, I found it easy to add unnecessary complications. And what I mean by that is I became more likely to try and get around the limitations of Survey 123 and Power Automate by making additions to each of them rather than subtractions. So the real challenge became finding simpler, more direct means to achieve the same goal rather than complicating the process any further. You can see our future improvements that we have in mind, mainly a notification system that we would like to create in the near future. And unfortunately, as much as Power Automate is geared towards emails, I think the people that we are targeting here get enough emails. So we're trying to find other alternatives, and that's the real challenge of it. And while the initial rollout was successful with construction management, I'm really looking forward to a more widespread use within the company because I definitely believe that the benefits can be addressed towards multiple departments. That's it. Again, I tried to wrap it up quickly, and if any of you have any questions, feel free. My email is there. I'll put it in the chat as well, or you can just put it in the chat and I'll try to get to as many as I can. Thank you.
All right, yeah. Thanks, Michael. I also forgot to mention this meeting is being recorded, and I think the presentation will be available on the share on the website. I couldn't get to my dog right now. But next up is Jim Wooten. Jim, go ahead.
Okay, let's
Jim, I think you're muted.
oh, nope. Let's see. Yeah, from the beginning. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right, so with a nod to Mike Rowe, this presentation is called Geospatial Dirty Jobs. For those of you that know about Mike and what he does, it seemed relevant. That's me, that's my company. And so if we recent headlines, most countries now have sort of concluded that the COVID-19 pandemic most likely began in China. And for those countries that have airlines that service service China, they've begun testing wastewater from those airlines. And in addition, they're also testing the sewer system from the airports. In New Jersey, a couple of other headlines from NorthJersey.com and NewJersey.com. So indicating that the sewer systems may be a good place to check for not only COVID-19 virus, but other pathogens. This issue has risen to the level of national biodefense strategy, and the White House published their implementation plan in October, and calling out and highlighting that wastewater needs to be included in the surveillance for early warning biodefense. This is the basic wastewater surveillance or wastewater-based epidemiology workflow in the community. The upper right indicates the parameters that are needed to standardize the testing, and then the bottom right indicates the markers and the genes that need to be tested for to indicate the presence or absence of pathogenic DNA, RNA. And as long as they are there, they want to test for antimicrobial resistance genes and other chemical and biological markers. Uh-oh. It looks like I'm frozen. All right, let's go back. Let's see. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so I probably missed a few, but this is the wastewater and sewer treatment plants in New Jersey. And as most know, this is municipal, regional authority, and private sector ownership. So it indicates the scale of the issue in New Jersey. The CDC now has a special program, the National Wastewater Surveillance System, and as of August 24th, over 1,200 zip codes are sampling wastewater for various pathogens. Because Australia is a key ally and partner in the Indo-Pacific region, I thought it'd be useful to show again the scale of the problem of the wastewater treatment plants in Australia and Tasmania to indicate the scale of the issue. A recent research article on wastewater sampling in UK airports. A couple of main conclusions. All samples taken from sewers were positive for SARS. Samples derived from aircraft at those airports showed 93% SARS-CoV-2 positivity, and no difference in viral prevalence was found before and after the travel restrictions were lifted. Some other recent headlines, many of us thought polio was gone. It is not, apparently. A man in upstate New York tested positive. Some of the bacterial resistance, the last resort antibiotic resistance bacteria was detected in LA wastewater. And the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientist recently published a story that the Pentagon should surge investments in pathogen early warning systems as a classic military deterrence by denial approach. So institutional involvement, the federal, state, and local governments need to be active. As pointed out, the biodefense strategy in states that wastewater surveillance needs to be part of that strategy. Academic health centers, particularly those with medical, engineering, and veterinary schools, should probably be involved. The CDC also has a program called One Health that involves those three areas, including the environment. The modeling of zoonotic infections can be very important here. In the private sector, airlines, airports, and private sector wastewater and sewer treatment plants should probably be involved. Summer wastewater surveillance is becoming important for pandemic prevention and mitigation. Medical research, there is funding now available for this. And finally, international efforts by allies and partners can be helpful, as typical for U.S. foreign policy. The analysis can help discover potential pandemics while they are still sort of quote unquote over there before it gets over here. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of the meeting.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Interesting perspective on a topic that's fairly new to the forum, but good stuff. Thank you. And thanks for staying under the 5-minute or the 6-minute time frame as well.
Sure.
All right. Next up, we have Jocelyn and Nicholas from the Highlands Council.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Jocelyn Vanden Acker. I'm the GIS manager at the New Jersey Highlands Council. Nick is actually going to do the bulk of this presentation. Should be getting the slides up momentarily. But we had a need at the council to help our towns with the New Jersey mandate to create an environmental resource inventory. And we put out an RFP in 2019 and hired the T&M Associates to create this application for us. And Nick has been the software developer on it. We thought we'd share it with you a little bit. And if you have questions, you can either reach out to me at the Highlands Council or to Nick. So take it away, Nick.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Yeah, so my name's Nick Ludber. I'm a software developer at T&M. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of this Highlands Interactive Environmental Resource Inventory we built with the help of the Highlands to support ERI creation, right? So as Jocelyn said, an environmental resource inventory is a required step for all 88 municipalities in the Highlands region. So they wanted a solution that would simplify ERI creation, but then also enable easier exploration and understanding of environmental data. Often their constituents, in small municipalities could be volunteers, non-GIS people, non-scientists. And it's a little overwhelming for folks to just drop into a GIS application and not really know what they're looking at. So ERI creation is typically a tedious, costly, and time-consuming process for these municipalities. Another piece is that ERIs are a static document. They're a PDF typically, and the second you produce one, they're out of date. So what we wanted to do with this application was let folks explore spatial data at various geographies, pull from live and continuously updated data where possible. I imagine many of you are creating and maintaining that data, displaying some context about the GIS layers they're looking at, doing custom on-the-fly calculations based on the area a user has selected, export maps, chart some geospatial data, and then the main piece of it is export of an ERI-like editable text document. So rather than talk about the application, I recorded a little video here to just give you an idea of what it looks like, right? So you have the option to select various types of geographies. I'm going to pick a municipality, right? This is kind of a standard GIS flow, the cascading dropdowns. I clicked on Mendham Borough here. Once I confirm that's the area I want, over 100 GIS layers are added to this map, categorized as the Highlands wanted. I'm just going to turn on a couple of layers here, right? Add uses, and it'll do a really simple acreage calculation for that layer based on the borough. I can do the same thing in hydrology if I'm interested in Cat 1 waterways. Turn that on, and do again, those bullet points are on the fly calculations based on the attribute table, the names of those tributaries. I'm going to skip ahead so I don't run over time here, but right, I could turn on total forest area, get the same thing. And then I have the option to click around, zoom in, zoom out, explore as you would with any GIS application. But the meat of it for me is in this reports tab, where really once you know the application, in a couple of minutes, you can end up with roughly a 50-page draft ERI document, that's exported as a Word document, so you can edit it. You can add additional content or change things as you want, but it'll give you custom information about your the area you've selected. So just real quick for the technically inclined in the audience, this thing is cloud hosted in Azure. I've got a React.js front end, a .NET backend. We're using very heavily the ArcGIS Maps SDK for JavaScript, formerly the JavaScript API. And my final ask for you is, if this thing is interesting to you, it is publicly available at highlandseri.com. Please go take a look at it and see how this could be useful for you, for your clients. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Good stuff there. Nice to see how you pulled that together. And I'm sure there'll be interest in that, what you guys did there. All right, we're up to our fifth speaker. That's Chris Pollard from DBRPC.
Awesome. Good morning there. Just getting on my slides here, so hopefully you all can see them. Yeah, so it's great because thanks for having me. I posted in the chat, DBRPC actually has an IREG, Information Resource Exchange Group hybrid event coming up in 2 weeks. And I've actually asked Jocelyn to give a presentation and team on that ERI, a little bit more in-depth presentation in 2 weeks on that. So if you want to learn more about the application they just showed, feel free to join us in a few weeks on that. So anyway, so yeah, so my name's Chris Pollard. I'm the manager of the region. We are the MPO for the Greater Philadelphia region. And today I just wanted to sort of give an update and sort of talk a little bit about some data initiatives and GIS and some sharing and different platforms that we're doing, and talk a little bit about our data center, so a new platform we've just recently launched for sharing GIS and tabular data. So about almost a year ago, we went through some structural changes. We actually have a new executive director. We had some other upper management sort of retire and move on. So we decided to take a new approach to how we're doing and working with GIS and innovation and different planning tools at DBRPC. So we've restructured and we sort of built this new planning innovation unit. And under that, housed underneath that's the Office of GIS, which I work in, and Glenn McNichol and Mark Gaddy, who are on the call today. And we also have our data coordination and planning technology departments, offices. They're consisting of data scientists and other planning data scientists. So those folks that are using not just GIS, but R and doing some Python and programming. And we wanted to bring all of those people underneath one big umbrella. So, the goal of Planning Innovation is to sort of build this culture that allows us to foster innovation in the planning field through collaboration and knowledge sharing. So sort of break down those walls or those silos that folks are sometimes used to working within, and sort of bring everyone together. So we've got this sort of new vision statement, a data culture vision statement, where we're hoping to be able to democratize data at the commission by emphasizing fluency and transparency to drive more data-driven decisions regionally. So what this really means is we want to empower everyone, so planners as well as our county members, member governments, students and researchers. We want to be able to have them leverage the data that we have in the work that they're doing, but we want them to feel comfortable to allow for innovation in their approaches to how they're enhancing different deliverables and projects that they're working on. And so we've got these sort of three keywords: visible, accessible, and reliable, that we're sort of building sort of this new initiative around. So one of the things we do at the Planning Commission is we produce a lot of static reports. Not only do we maintain our TIP and our long-range plan, but we do a whole bunch of different corridor studies. We work in sort of sustainability, flooding, the environment and health aspects, and we produce a lot of reports. But sometimes there's pretty maps in there, but sometimes data is trapped inside the PDFs. Tabular data is there. That's there in the back of the appendix. And we've done an amazing job of being visible, putting those reports out there and having our GIS data accessible to a lot of folks. But what we've been missing is sort of that key element of having our tabular data available as well out there. So we've decided to sort of launch this new initiative. So the DVRPC Data Center, you can find this on our website. We've relaunched it. It's dvrpc.org/data. And sort of this is going to be our platform to be visible, accessible, and reliable in regards to all of our data, not just our GIS data, but our tabular data as well, so that folks can sort of get hold of that and find more information about it. So data center, within there, you can find our data catalog, as well as our maps and applications. So we've got a new home for our interactive maps. And just like some of the typical Esri open data platforms that are out there, other data portals, you can browse by topics. You can pick and choose some of the different topics, some of the areas that we work on, the different planning departments at DVRPC. You can quickly and easily sort of figure out and find, some of the information you might be looking for. Again, so the data catalog, we have that built on top of an open source data management system called CCAN. And so what this does is tapping into sort of our GIS data, as well as some tabular data, as well as our mapping application. So we can go in there and we can customize our sort of data catalog to house all the data that we want to share with the public. And one of the other things that's really cool about this is we can sort of set it to sort of also be private data sets. So if we're working on data sets internally, we're able to share that with ourselves, planning staff, so we can sort of QA, QC any data before we press a button and sort of open it up and publish it out there. But you can see here, you can filter on these data sets just like other data portals. You get a simple description, and you can go right to data formats. So one of the things we do work with a lot of times is different municipalities and different consulting firms, or folks that maybe just want a CSV table. They don't want a sort of big GIS data set, and they might just want to look at some tabular data. So this is a really great way for them to come in here and sort of be able to get right to some of the resources they're looking for. The beauty of going with CCAN, the option we chose is we can actually embed in it Esri's open data platform. So we don't have to sort of retool or do anything to get our GIS data out there. So we've got all of our GIS data, about 157 GIS data sets in our open data platform. And they're harvested and brought right into the data catalog, so folks can sort of do everything they are typically used to doing in the Esri environment right here within our data catalog. Metadata, yes. So all of us in the GIS field love filling out metadata, whether it's for geodatabases or shapefiles. So the beauty of us going with this is now we also have to maintain and work on metadata for our data catalog. So this was something that was a big lift for us, was to sort of work on creating a seamless interaction between not only our web mapping applications, which typically don't have metadata, and our GIS data sets, but using catalog, we're able to sort of build metadata so that we can sort of link together all of these different things. So folks in the future are going to be able to go into a particular data set, and they're going to be able to see where that data set is being used in applications, or vice versa. They can take a look at some of our web mapping applications and see which data sets that we're using that are consumed in those applications. So this will make it a little bit more reliable so that folks can sort of find data if they want to utilize some of our resources with their own work that they're doing.
Chris, your time's almost, well, your time's up.
Yep,
But
last one,
yep.
just maps right there, gallery. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out. So thank you.
Okay, great. Good stuff again. It looks like a website I was looking at the other day for New York City, open data. So good stuff. All right, next up we have Lisa Jordan from Drew University.
Oh, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. All right. Can you see my screen?
No.
No? Let's see. Share window.
Okay, there we go. Yep. All right.
Sorry for the duplicate there. Hello, good morning. My name is Lisa Jordan. I teach at Drew University, where I direct the Spatial Data Center, and I teach classes in Geographic Information Systems. And I want to express gratitude to the organizers for putting this lightning talk session together today. It is coinciding with my GIS class, so I'm happy that several students are online and hearing about the wonderful GIS projects going on around the state, but also learning and hearing from the people who make the data we work with. So for the lightning talks, I was super excited to take a quick look at the brand new tree canopy cover data layers that the U.S. Forest Service put out. And I wanted to see what they told us about New Jersey, what they told us about different counties, and what they told us about the town where Drew is in Madison, New Jersey. So some of the things that we discovered is this new data set by the Forest Service is annual between 2011 and 2021. And with that information, we're able to look at tree canopy cover changes over time. It's 30-meter resolution data. So some of the things that I could discover by using just summary statistics, zonal statistics, were that overall, we're seeing some very small declines in tree canopy cover over this decade, from about 45% tree canopy cover to 44%. That adds up to about 68 square miles of tree canopy cover loss, 2% decline. You have to have an eagle eye to view changes in the canopy cover. But those canopy cover changes differ by region. In some regions, there is actually an increase in tree canopy cover over that decade. In some places, we see decreases. And so we find like losses in Somerset, Union, Essex counties, but increases in Warren and Sussex and Ocean counties, where the tree canopy cover has expanded. We also took a look at this information by municipality. And so most of the municipalities, because of course, a lot of them in northern New Jersey are losing tree canopy cover. And there's a lot of variation town to town in the losses. And some towns are seeing some gains as well. When we took a look at our area in Madison, we found that Morris County was losing tree canopy cover, and that the town itself was also losing tree canopy cover. What got us involved in this project in the first place was working with our Shade Tree Management Board that asked questions about how tree canopy cover was changing, largely for purposes of designing a tree ordinance for the town, and also perhaps in the future as a means of enforcing the tree ordinance. So we took a look at it for Madison, calculated those tree canopy cover changes over time. We saw annual declines, and we could say by different quadrants with which the Shade Tree Board uses, what areas we're seeing the most tree losses. We're also interested in taking a look at how this compared with the LiDAR data. So the LiDAR data, finding the base elevation and then the peak elevations, subtracting the two grids, we could get a rough sense of tree canopy height. Where the 30-meter resolution is not great at something like a parcel level, the LiDAR data allows us to take a look at it. We found an association or correlation between the LiDAR and the tree canopy cover, both of 2018 of 0.7%. So they're related, but not exactly the same. So the website is posted online. I have tables of the different municipalities and the different counties if you want to take a look at them. So thanks so much. I'm so enjoying the talks and learning about the ERIs in different places and stuff going on in Delaware River Valley. So appreciate the opportunity to share today.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Can you share that the link to your story map in the chat, as a few other
Sure.
people have done? Thank
bet.
you. Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Patrick Warner of DEP.
Good morning.
Morning.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So Pat Warner, I'm from the Office of Fish and Wildlife Information Systems. So we're within DEP, within Fish and Wildlife. We're a small GIS shop that concentrates on GIS data development, GIS analysis, and development of web applications. So I just wanted to show some of those applications, just do a quick review of some of the tools we have available. So this is our website where a lot of our tools can be launched from. And we released a series of story maps that we call kind of explorer applications. And embedded within those are a number of web app builders. So here's our saltwater fishing explorer. It has two web app builders in it, one on artificial reef deployments and another on places to fish or saltwater fishing opportunities. So just to demo some of this, this is our artificial reef deployment application where you could search for a particular deployment or a particular reef site or a deployment, either one. And then there's information on those deployments. So I click on the point here, gives me the name of the deployment, the description. So this one's a tugboat, who sponsored the deployment, the date it was deployed. And the point of our artificial reef program to begin with is to provide hard substrate for organisms to attach to, so crustaceans, shellfish, and then those to serve as fishing grounds. They serve as places for scuba divers and so forth. So that's sort of our saltwater fishing explorer. We also have a freshwater fishing explorer that includes great fishing close to home, and I'll demo that. And it also includes our trout stocked waters application. So we stock hundreds of thousands of trout each spring, and then a smaller amount in the fall for freshwater anglers. So here's our great fishing close to home. So this is just a series of points and polygons. You could search by water body, you could search if you're after a particular target species, you could search by target species. And if you click on, the point or the water body, it's giving you a table. No, that's not it. Of the information about that water body, and then the fish available, directions through Google Maps and so forth. On to the trout stocked waters application. Again, this is pretty simple. We just update it with a stocking schedule. And again, you can search by streams or lakes. And then if you click on one of these, it will tell you, it'll give you the dates that it would be stocked and so forth. We also have a wildlife management area explorer. So this is part of our wildlife management area system that includes 122 WMAs. So that represents about 360,000 acres, which is 44% of the state open space. People think of state open space, they often think of parks and forests, but our wildlife management areas are a big chunk of that. Here, there's two web apps. One's focused on our properties and the other on upland bird stocking. So within this application, you can search for a particular wildlife management area. You can search our shooting ranges and any of our infrastructure features. So I'll go to Assunpink Wildlife Management Area. And then you'll see that our sort of infrastructure asset features come up: boat ramps, shooting ranges, dog training areas. And you can click anywhere on the property and it will give you more information. So what we did is we intersect it with a number of different data sets, landscape project. So we'll have a species list of all the species that are contained on that WAMA, listed plant species, a breakdown of habitat types, the hydrography that's in place on the property, the different hunting and trapping zones, and then some of our regional conservation priority data. So this was all sort of crunched on our properties, and then it's stored in a related table, and then we used a number of arcade statements to pull that related data into the pop-up. So it's sort of a very mini like resource inventory for each property. Sort of pales in comparison to the Highlands tools, but this is sort of a shadow of that idea. We also have a hunting and trapping explorer where you can select any particular species, and then you could launch the map that shows the hunting zones for those species. And we have stuff on conservation focal areas. So these are areas identified in our wildlife action plan as important for species conservation and habitat conservation. And I think I'm about out of time, but we also have our landscape project data. So this is focused on endangered and threatened species. So I'll pepper the chat with links to these different applications. And if there are any questions, I'll throw my email in there as well. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Lots of good stuff going on there. Next up, Arthi from Somerset County, Office of GIS.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Arthi Sabason. I'm the manager for Somerset County's Office of GIS Services. Today, I'm going to talk about an application we recently developed using Esri's Experience Builder. The Somerset County Housing Navigator application. It provides a comprehensive view of all available housing options for our residents or anyone who's interested to move into the county. So To give you a little bit of a background, the county has been mapping affordable housing, senior housing options within the county since probably the 90s. These data sets are usually GIS maps, static GIS maps that are available through our county website. So this year we thought we would do something different. We would create an application to host the data, to showcase the data, but also to be able to provide a one-stop website for all housing resources within the county. So one of the nice things about using this experience builder is we are able to integrate many different types of GIS applications like Survey 123, Power BI, etc., into this one cohesive application. And and we're very excited to show that. So let me quickly dive into the website. So so we have an introduction, and then we go through a community profile. So this community profile talks about Somerset County, where it's located, what the workforce is, what the median household income, etc. So this provides a resource for someone who's looking to move into the county, who doesn't have much of an idea about what the housing options are and what the transportation options are, etc. So we scroll down, we have a lot of information about the county, education, basically like just a quick overview about what it is like living within the county. I would like to draw your attention to a couple of maps that we have. The first map that we have is of median household home values. So this is again a living atlas data layer, which we were able to pull together to create this application. So on a census tract level, you're able to gauge what the median household income within a particular area is. So depending on your income restrictions or not, you'll be able to better understand which is possibly a nice place for you to move to. We also have a map of median contract rent. So this is for folks who are trying to rent within the county. As you can see, place around the burnouts, they have really high rent here, and it's color coded to show what the median household median rent is across. So when you go back, we do have an option where we can explore different different housing options based on what you're looking for. And here, I'll come back to that in a minute. And we also have a Survey 123 form integrated into the webpage, so as to, for anyone who's having a question regarding how to reach a particular department or any data-related questions, we do have a form for them to fill out. So let's quickly talk about the senior housing option here. So this page, we talk a little bit about what are the different types of senior housing options that are available within the county. And this dashboard you see here is a Power BI dashboard that we've integrated. We tried many options. We tried the Esri dashboards, etc. But we felt at the end of the day, this looked a lot cleaner for what we were looking for. Again, this is an interactive application. So if you're looking for senior residences, click on that. All the other maps, they restrict and provide you the number of options that you have. We also have this data broken down by municipalities and also by municipalities, and also if a particular properties for rent or for sale. So we're sticking to the tradition. We also have a handout map, which a lot of folks find it very useful too, because we have detailed information of all the different senior housing options here. And so this is the interactive map application. So here I'm able to fill out, like if I'm looking for an active adult community, so I'm able to filter out using all these different filters over here.
I'm not seeing that, Arti.
Yeah. Oh.
Right now, I'm just seeing what would you like to explore, the feedback page.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me try sharing again.
Yeah.
Um, um,
We were seeing it and then it just, I
Okay.
guess, yeah.
Are you able to see the senior housing options?
Yeah,
No?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. I guess when I changed pages, I guess it didn't update for some reason. Okay. Um, so, um, so this was the Power BI dashboard that I talked about, if in case you didn't see that. So let me continue with the mapping application that we have. So this here we have all the different categories of senior housings. Say, for instance, I'm looking to see all the active adult community within the county. I'm able to filter that out if I want to filter it out based on the municipality I want to live. And so that, and yes, this gives us a very comprehensive view about all the different options and if how to reach this particular development, etc. You also have a filter out. We also have a table here if in case you want to filter it out based and export it out as an Excel table. One final thing we have here is also the additional resources. So this lists pretty much all the county organizations and the state organizations that are here to help seniors and find housings. So we have it all in one website. So that's a quick overview of this application. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Interesting, another kind of different application for the forum, but good to see what's going on there in Somerset County. All right, I got two more. Up next is Jonas. He's with Morris County, but submitted something as an independent resident.
Thanks, Trish. I'm actually with Esri, but up
Oh,
in Morris County.
There you go. Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, good morning, everyone. Really appreciate the opportunity to present to the group today. So like I mentioned, up in Morris County, and want to share what I'm doing with maps to raise awareness of a potential environmental concern. So 6 minutes, I'll get right to it. We're here in Roxbury Township in Morris County, and the focus area is in the Kenville neighborhood that contains a pretty interesting environmental feature known as the Great Spring. It's actually a pretty robust, fresh groundwater spring that feeds the Black River. And it is just so happens to be on the southern tip of a large industrial site. So it's never really been well understood from what I understand. Even the location of the spring doesn't seem to line up with the Black River. And the quality of the data may have led to some of the lack of public awareness around what's going on this site and the threat that it may pose to our water resources. So the site has a really interesting history, formerly owned by the Hercules Powder Company, dynamite, explosives, lots of toxic chemicals and contamination on the site that's been sitting idle since about 1989. But big plans for redevelopment. Currently, there is a massive remediation effort underway at the site being performed by private companies under the Site Remediation Reform Act of 2009 with DEP oversight. So a lot going on, a lot of attention to this in the township, but not so much discussion of the critical water resources that are directly adjacent to this site and the remediation activities that are ongoing. So there's a very important freshwater well field known as the Almatong Well Field, operated by Morris County Municipal Utilities Authority, just downstream of where all this is going on. And the problem that I found, a lot of the articles and blogs and different postings on this event, this activity, was the lack of good maps. Great work, great writing has been done by a number of different individuals and agencies, but when it came to actually explaining what's going on and where, it was a challenge to understand. These are just some of the examples of maps that were provided. Fascinating nonetheless, but I thought I could at least get started on doing a better job at that. So thank you to everyone on the call who contributes to these publicly available data sets. Just want to say they're really easy to find and work with. And then actually telling the story. What did I want to do? I wanted to create maps to raise awareness. That's really it. Here's what's going on. So I chose to break it down into 3 scales. Project site, let's focus on the large scale. What's going on right there? Well, we've got bioremediation sites, contaminated soil being stored right next to a spring where maybe potentially on this 800-acre property, it could be stored somewhere else. Or has that even been considered or discussed with the public? That's the purpose of the first map. Second map, very simple. We have this project going on immediately upstream of a critical water supply and wanted to make that abundantly clear. If anything were to get into the water at that spring, 5 minutes later, it's in the well field. And then finally, this is the Raritan headwaters. This is part of the North Branch Raritan watershed that feeds into a much larger regional water supply, regional ecosystem. So less of an immediate concern because I don't understand the scale of the threat, but wanted to also raise that as a potential item and topic. So project site map, pretty straightforward. There's the spring, there's the observed construction right next to each other, and also wanted to focus on, is that the right location of the spring? And if it is, should that actually be the official start of the Lamington River, the Black River, and not at Black River Lake where it currently is? Next up, 3D for the flow scene project area to well field. Little elevation profile, just want to make that clear. And then again, large potential impact area, but not focusing too much on this unless I'm advised by a real expert that there could be a larger concern here than something that's just local beyond that well field. So again, I just wanted to make better maps of this. Not an expert in many of the fields that require actual recommendations, but thought I could get the ball rolling and sharing with specific communities and stakeholders, including this one. So I chose to publish a story map featuring these maps. I'll walk through it really quickly here. Again, going from project site, immediate impact, to larger picture, proximity to well fields, and then the 3D scene showing the area, the spring, the tributaries, and then its immediate proximity to parks and lakes here in Roxbury, and then the really important thing, the well field itself. And then a quick summary and links to the information that I used. So just want to say thank you to the group for the opportunity to present this and for anyone who works on the data that was available. I've already learned a lot from the presentations, especially from the Highlands Council and NJDEP. So really appreciate everyone's work that contributes to efforts like this. And if anyone is curious or has any questions or feedback on the story map or the project, happy to share that. And really appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonas. Yeah, I think there may be some questions on yours and hopefully some additional questions for other speakers at the end as well. And also people have, I think, put stuff in the chat as well. All right, our last presenters are David and Pooja with New Jersey's Adopt and Sponsor a Highway program. Don't hear you.
Hey, David, are you
There
can
you
you share
go.
your screen, please? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, David, you're muted. Pooja, I can hear you.
Double muted.
Okay.
All right. Screen up.
Okay, while he pulls that up, I'll get started. So my name is Pooja Tucker, and I'm the program specialist for NJDOT. And my background is actually in mechanical engineering. I do not have an IT background, but I had the pleasure of collaborating with David and Scott Costello to develop the story map specifically for the Adopt a Highway and the Sponsor a Highway program. I oversee the statewide litter programs as well as winter operations here. And but these are the two programs that we wanted to focus on. So the Adopt a Highway program is a volunteer-based program where any citizen of New Jersey who wants to participate and pick up litter in a specific segment near their community or neighborhood can submit the request through the nonprofit that we partner up with, which is New Jersey Clean Communities Council. And basically that request would come to me and I would check to make sure that it's not only safe for pedestrians to be on that segment, but also that the segment is available and not being adopted by another group. And once that's approved, the New Jersey DOT sign shop will then put up a sign acknowledging that individual or group. And it's basically our way of saying thank you for picking up litter on that segment 6 times a year. The Sponsor a Highway is a little bit different in that we work with 2 different vendors. It's very confusing because both of those vendors, they start with Adopt a Highway, so everyone confuses the programs. But the one vendor we work with is Adopt a Highway Maintenance Corporation, and the other one is Adopt a Highway Litter Removal Service of America. And any small or large business or a startup company that wishes to sponsor a segment of highway can contact one of these 2 vendors, also known as maintenance providers. They pay a small fee, and then the maintenance provider will then go pick up litter on behalf of the sponsor. Litter, surprisingly, is a very big issue, even in 2023 right now. As you can imagine, it has unfortunate consequences if it's not handled. It affects our environment, it endangers wildlife, it affects property values in New Jersey, and it also affects the way that others perceive our state. And these 2 programs were not getting any traction. We were not getting a lot of sponsors or volunteers to sign up. And the GIS team and I felt that this is a really great tool to not only educate the public as to what kind of programs we have in the state and what we're doing to abate litter, but it's also a way to encourage them. And it's kind of like, I want to say our cry for help, because we do need the help. And it's kind of a way to encourage them to participate in one of these 2 programs. And I'll kick it off to David to go through the story map.
Thanks, Pooja. So, as she said, she worked with the New Jersey Department of Transportation's GIS unit to create an application that can better promote these 2 programs. So what we did was we made a story map using story maps from ArcGIS Online. And it's fairly simplistic. We start out with a picture of volunteers and title Keeping the Garden State Fresh, get a bit of a hook for the readers. And very quickly, there's a graphic that showcases the different groups that are aligning with us on these efforts. So you have the Adopt a Highway programs, and then New Jersey Clean Communities at the bottom in cooperation with the NJDOT and NJDOT GIS. And immediately after that, we have contact information so that anyone that's interested in helping can get a hold of someone right away and get started on volunteering to keep our highways clean. We decided that this was a good idea to put this at the beginning so that we can get stuff going as quickly as possible with those who want to make as much help as they can, as fast as they can. And then we come to a quick blurb about how many roads there are in New Jersey. I didn't know this. There are over 39,000 miles that are used every day, and that adds up to a lot of litter. And what we decided to do to showcase who's helping us clean those streets, we created a inset map of New Jersey showcasing the different areas where people have volunteered their time to clean up the roads. And it's interactable. The limitations of ArcViewer or the ArcMap application means that we can't really showcase the full city of New Jersey in a pretty clean way, because if I go any further, it just defaults to this. So there are some limitations with these programs, and we are trying to deliver the best possible product given the constrictions. When you click on the point, it'll showcase the applicant, when it was approved by the DOT, the county, and the location that was requested in. Then further down, you have a little blurb about the hotspots where we're needing the most help. And then again, a link to go submit an application so you can get to work right away. And then it just goes into a brief description about the partners again, and this covers most of what Pooja talked about, starting with the Adopt a Highway program, and then further down the Sponsor a Highway program as well. And again, both have the contact information for those groups. Again, we feel like it's very important that we remind people every step of the way, here's how you can help out, here's how you can call someone, get in touch with email. And afterwards, we also put a little plug-in for New Jersey's Commitment to Communities program as a way of showing that we're trying to really engage the public with our outreach. And the idea we have going forward is that we can make this a sort of dynamic story map that updates whenever there is a new newsletter from Commitment to Communities, so we can keep the public up to date with what's going on with our programs. And then just a quick way to get people more involved, we included this little Don't Trash Our Garden State PDF. People can just right-click on the image itself, save it, share it with their friends and families, and remind them that, hey, it's up to us, each of us, to do our part to keep our roads clean. And I hope that this story map can be one great tool in helping to do so.
Okay.
And then there's logos, and yeah, that's it.
All right. Good. You know what? I have to say, whenever I see those Adopt a Highway signs, I wonder more about the program. So it's pretty cool to see what you guys have you can see that it's a statewide effort, and help is needed. So yeah, thanks for telling us about that. I think that, yeah, so that is our last presentation of the morning. It's 11:30, and we have time for questions for any of the presenters. I guess the way we'll do it, we'll have if you want to raise your hand, we'll call on you. Again, there's also questions and comments in the chat. Lots of stuff, lots of talk going on there, and some additional links. I think maybe to start out, I just have a question for Michael. Hope you're still on, Michael.
Yep, still here.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the web hook? And is that something that does not work with the enterprise? For getting emails out?
So we're currently not on an enterprise setup, but it does. The Survey 123 webhook operates the same across all Power Automate triggers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I had used webhooks, but I haven't done it lately, and it sounded familiar to what you were doing. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So even though we weren't sending out notifications or anything of the sort, it still needs that webhook to kind of have that communication line between Survey 123 and Power Automate.
Yeah, and I will be going back to your presentation to take another look at what you did. Good stuff.
Yeah, and definitely if you'd like any more details, please feel free to reach out. Definitely
Okay.
open to that.
Thank you.
Yep.
And yeah, thank you to all the presenters today. And the floor is open for questions, comments. Well, so I do not see any questions, but I do think hopefully people got something out of today's presentations. Thank you to the presenters for putting this together, and we do this usually every year in June. Well, or every other year, depends. But clearly there's a lot going on out there, and it's good to hear the variety of presentations and how people are approaching problems, and I do think the forum is here to kind of showcase some of this stuff. So it's I'm glad that we were able to do this, and we will do it again in the future. And with that, I think we can adjourn the meeting. Feel free to send emails to the presenters and check our website for the presentations and the recording. Okay, thank you, everyone. We will see you. I guess our next meeting is October 12th, and we'll be letting you know what the topic is and keeping you informed on that. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks.